What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Elijah Rebel. We back. It is week 3 of the NDL Lone Army. I'll throw the iCard up for last week. We got some stuff to cover. You know what I'm saying? We're slowly moving this season, but as promised, I gotta put out 10 more months for this loan list. So you know the drill. 10 likes, we'll do 10 more. We'll do 10 more months. Very simple. What happened in week 2? It's starting to become a little trend here around here that the tier 3 loans are becoming OP because we in the last video we talked about the Gregory Grotto. Yeah, it is the Gregory Grotto. Am I tripping? Yeah, no. The Gregory Grottos, they had a tier 3. They locked in a tier 3 loan with Drapion this week. 2 more tier 3 loans got locked in. Actually, no. There was one tier 4 and then another tier 3. But then the other tier 3 loan, the Nido Queen one, didn't get locked in, but the Mimikyu one did get locked in, and then tier 4 Beware got locked in. So our tier 3 loans of OP, they're pretty important. Tier 3 is actually a pretty important tier if you really think about it. So, because you get 2 of those, and then you have free points as well. So, there's that, right? We have a new kill leader as at the time of recording this. Toxapex got 7 total kills at the time of recording this, and edging out 6 Valley by 1, which is very, very interesting. There's a couple of 2-0 teams in the Soul Rock division. We're gonna go over those teams really quickly in the next slide, and then lastly, I don't know if CBT's still playing in this. Will they get replaced by the end of the day today? I don't know. We shall figure that out when we get there. But let's take a look at the 3 2-0 teams in the Soul Rock division. So on the far right, you have the Gregory Growlers, which we explained a little bit in the last video. Drapion, finally, getting, what is it? Man, I cannot speak today. I know it's early, but come on now. Drab with the strap was the most recent. It was the highlight when we were reviewing the team last time. But it seems that the team is being built around, the bulky core of Milotic and Porygon 2, And the fact that Milotic gets, momentum this generation in flip turn just makes it all so annoying to take down, honestly. You combine that with P2's bulk, Florges' Spadef bulk, and then Mienshao getting Regenerator. This team ain't dying anytime soon. That's for sure. Over to the left of the Gregory Grottos, we have the lineup for the South Leinster team. It's the South Leinster Leafy Bat things or whatever, but they're doing really well. K-Millie and Wex are, primarily VGC Series 9, 10 players. But they're 2-0 right now, and Tarak Z has been a really surprising, pick, for a captain. It's doing really, really well though. It is top 5 in the leaderboard for kills. The synergy with Dragapult is super nice. And then obviously your bulky pieces are coming from Togekiss, Snorlax, Umbreon, Eldegoss with Regenerator, things like that. And then Melmetal as well, on the physical defense side specifically. This team is just solid. This team is just super solid. And it's out, and the coaches are outperforming my expectations for sure. Definitely. And then the other VGC team, right? We have, the legend himself, Special Ed, and his best friend, Gummy Bear, with the Mega Lob, Lottie, and Scizor. So the weird thing about this team is that your defog options, your hazard removal options, realistically are coming from Scizor is the most likely defog candidate out of this whole roster. Like I mentioned earlier, they did loan the Nidoqueen, but they ended up, they completed that loan. They didn't lock it in, so they still have the Roserade at the end of the day. But they're 2-0 right now. They're 2-0 right now. Mega Lop is a really, really good revenge killer. I'm having, personal success with it. In PDL, Miltank, literally yesterday, Miltank just literally became a fat wall yesterday. So the bulk is going to be coming from, you have a bulky pivot in Scizor, you have just straight up raw bulk in Miltank, things like that. Yeah, this team out of all these three teams is the most interesting because, it's obviously the worst team out of the other two, but like they're also 2-0 somehow. So, kudos to them, man. Kudos to them. But enough with all that high and mighty praise. We're gonna go in and talk to y'all about the tier 2 loans for this week 3. So we got a little couple tier 2 loans to talk about here. The first one I can do really quickly. Necrozma, I don't have to explain that much because if y'all watch the Watermelon League, y'all already know how I feel about this thing. Necrozma, it with prison armor, weakness policy goes crazy on this thing. You can look at if you look at the spread, you can make it a fast DD set. You have your cosmic power sets as well. It just, like, I would say that like everyone compares this to Mew. Everyone compares this to budget Mew, but I could argue that this could be better than Mew in terms of the offensive side of things. Like, look at the 120, because Mew is 100 everywhere, whereas Necrozma is going to hit harder with 107 attack and 127 special attack. It's sacrificing a little bit of bulk, a little bit of Spadef and speed, but the raw power that Necrozma provides is just super, super nice. And I think if you get it at tier 2, you're stealing it. You're stealing something for sure. On the right here is something that I never get to see drafted, so I'm like, why not put it in tier 2 for a change? And that's Salamence. Now, the problem with Salamence is that yes, it gets wish, but it's not necessarily the bulkiest wish passer in the world, with 80s in both defenses and only a 95 HP stat. It's also, obviously it also gets deflogged because it can fly, but it can't, again, not the bulkiest defogger, not the bulkiest wisher. Has to hold the boots most of the time, or it's taking rocks chip, which is not necessary. It's quad weak to ice, which ice is very hard to switch into as it is. But the positives of it is that the attack and special attack being 135 and 110 respectively, similar to Necrozma, you could run mixed if you want to. 100 base speed after a DD, like there's it's very hard to outpace that after a DD. And then Moxie just makes the attack stats stronger. It has Intimidate support as well. So I think those are the reasons why, Mence is one of those mons where you have to put it tier 1. It's so because of the fact that it's the two abilities are very, very solid, and after one DD, forget it. But I never see it get drafted for some reason. So we're gonna put it in tier 2, see if anyone takes the bait, and then go from there. Let's go to tier 3. So tier 3 loans, we got two very interesting mons coming down from tier 2. The first one being Klefki. Now, you look at the spread on Klefki, and it's just Like why is this thing like was tier 2 to begin with? You know, it's just so, you know what I mean? But the prankster is just so broken. Giving yourself +1 you know, priority on the status moves, meaning you don't really need to run speed like that. You don't really need to run speed like that. You can invest more in bulk, and it kind of needs some bulk with that 57 HP. Again, prankster spikes is always good. Prankster T-wave is also good. You know, I think, you know, the keys, you know, can just be so annoying. And like, you know, with the Gen 7, you know, nerf to prankster, you know, with dark type being immune, it's a fairy type. So dark types don't want to necessarily, you know, switch in on, you know, dazzling gleam and things like that. So yeah, Klefki can be annoying if played properly. So I think tier 3 is a fair place to put Klefki for now, and see if anyone will take the bait. Again, this we talked about in the last video. We talked about why circuitry is so good, going to be so good at tier 2. Unfortunately, nobody used it, so I'm going to use the same argument for Regieleki. Now, Regieleki, what it lacks in coverage, it makes up for in speed. Obviously, 200 speed. You know, you could, you know, to put it in perspective, if you scarf Regieleki, you can outpace Unburdened Halucha. Dead serious. Like, that's how fast this thing is. Okay, so with 100 attack and 100 special attack, like, you can run, you know, with the ability Transistor, which is boosting the electric type attacks. You know, once the ground type is off the board, this thing kind of goes crazy. You know, you have, you know, stab volt switch transistor boosted is insane. Thunderbolt, wild charge, right? And like, it also has utility in, you know, dual screens, and also rapid spin, and then explosion just to pivot out after setting up those dual screens. You know, Regieleki is actually, you know, actually has some use. You know, it has offensive presence and it has utility. You know, it's basically a more, you know, it's like a Klefki that hits super hard. So you better bring a ground type, or this thing kind of goes crazy. That's our tier 3 loans. So you've noticed that we've had 2 tier 2 loans, 2 tier 3s. Now we're gonna see the next tier and tier 4, and these 3 demons right here are very interesting cases for sure. So Ludicolo here. So you notice here that the theme around this tier 4 loan this week is weather based. And Ludicolo actually does well in both the sun and the rain. So obviously, you know, with Ludicolo, you understand why it does so well in the rain, because of Swift Swim. You know, doubling your 70 base speed is very solid. 100 SPDF and 90 special attack. Right, there's gonna be some weeks where like you don't even need where you could run like AV and then just start chipping things in the rain, and you're already outpacing Mons in the rain via Swift Swim. But the reason why it's also very good in the sun is because, you know, this thing gets Weather Ball. So Weather Ball is hitting, you know, opposing, you know, grass types. If there's a certain, you know, steel flying type, you can have 100 base power fire blast that never misses via Weather Ball. You can clap, you know, grass. You can clap grass steals. You can clap bug steals. You know, Weather Ball just provides, you know, coverage that Ludicolo, you know, needs, you know, so that way it can click moves like Giga Drain and Energy Ball and all that stuff, right? Fire Punch with 70 base attack is so mid, so, you know, having Weather Ball with the 90 special attack in the sun is actually really, really good too. Definitely, you know, Ludicolo, if you're running a rain or a sun team, definitely cop it. Definitely cop it. Give it a try at tier 4. And then we're gonna talk about the 2 weather setters that are going down to tier 4. Regular Ninetales Kanto has 100 speed, 100 SPDF. You know, this thing, you can run things like, because the thing with Ninetales Alola is, you know, it's faster. It has Hail, which means it provides utility in Aurora Veil, but you know, the only utility this Firefox has the, you know, you have your disable, you have your hypnosis. I mean, it doesn't really provide that much utility, to be honest with you. So what it can do, I mean, 81 special attack after a nasty plot.
Oh my god,
the solar beams are decent, right? I mean, yeah. The more I think about this, the more I want to put this in tier 5. But, you know, I still think that having, you know, being able to set up the sun, you know, especially in tier 4 too, where it's so dry out there in tier 4, like I think it provides value just from drought alone. So Ninetales tier 4 is actually can be very good if you think about it. Next is and then Politoed. I could talk about Politoed for days though. Now this is on, you know, at tier 4 is an actual steal. You know, you have your, actually one of my favorite sets to run is the Whirlpool Parish Song set for sure. That's one of my favorite sets. But again, with Ninetales, it wants to run the Hypnosis, Scalds will burn, things like that, Toxic, right? This thing is very, very bulky. This thing is very, very bulky. The reason why you know, Pelipper is the supreme range setter is because it gets U-turn and you can just pivot out into your Swift Swimmer. But you know, that's why Politoed is going down for tier 4 alone, just for value purposes. But it still has its uses. It still has very, very good uses. It can even be run offensive, just like its counterpart Pelipper, with the 90 special attack. So, you know, throw some. You could throw bulky specs on it. It'd be fine, honestly. But yeah, those are our tier 4 loans, and then our tier 5 loans are gonna feature the other 2 weathers specifically. So tier 5 loans, you have Aurorus. Aurorus has a very, very solid HP stat at 123. Has very good SPDF, 92. It just can't switch into stuff, unfortunately. So, well, you know, Refrigerate is cool because, you know, your normal types become ice type attacks, I guess. The main selling point here is obviously, you know, a Hail setter. And with Hail setters, you have Veil setting, but with 58 speed, it's going to be very hard. You're going to have to force switches in order to get Veil up, otherwise, like, you know, Aurorus is going to take a hit before setting up Veil, which isn't which isn't, you know, ideal. It isn't ideal per se, but, you know, I've seen people, you know, do well with it. I've seen people do well with it somehow. So we'll see if it does well in tier 5. We'll see if somebody picks it up. We'll see. If Ice Rock is literally the worst typing combo to have defensively. Oh my gosh, you cannot resist anything with that. Whew. Ooh. Anyways, Dugtrio Alola. Last season in PDL, I had a lot of fun with this thing. The reason why, so like, I obviously can't put a Sand Setter down. I didn't feel like a Sand Setter needed to be put down. But this thing gets Sand Force, I guess. The selling points here is that it's a 110 base speed, 100 attack, right? So it's basically like a budget Excadrill, if you really consider it. You know, Edgequake, Iron Head, I believe it gets SD to my knowledge, but a really fun set. Really, a couple of fun sets. You know, the Subtoxic EQ sets are really fun, and if you want to be annoying, and then also, I also believe that this thing gets Final Gambit too. So you know, with 35 HP, you know, a lot of times, like, this thing wants to be annoying and be Sash Rock, Sash Endeavor, things like that. So Dugtrio Alola is a cool mon. It's a cool mon. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it in my last season in PDL for sure. And then going back to the Hail, you know, one of Aurora's teammates, common teammates, is gonna go down to tier 5 as well, and that's gonna be Sandslash Alola. Again, the problem with Sandslash Alola, it can't switch into stuff. It's quad weak to priority in the Hail, and by that I mean, you know, Mach Punch and Vacuum Wave. But with 120 Fizz Def and 100 attack, you know, and the 65 speed with Slush Rush, you know, you can actually outpace a lot of things. You're gonna be forcing your base, you know, 100 plus mons, you know, to be scarfed, and that's dangerous. That's dangerous. This thing gets Source down, you know. Again, it's like an like I said with Dugtrio Alola, it's an Excadrill, but in the Hail. It runs the SD Rapid Spin set, with Rapid Spin getting the speed boost now in the Generation 8. Rapid Spin's gonna be a button to click for sure. And, you know, you have your Ice. This thing does get Triple Axle actually, so you have probably one of the strongest moves in the game. It has one of the strongest moves in the game in Triple Axle. Combined with, you know, Iron Head, you know, with the 30% chance to flinch you down. Sandslash Alola, you know, is one of those things where, you know, with almost all ice types can't switch into anything, but offensively they put immense pressure on teams. And with that concludes our loan list for the week. I apologize if you're a fan of the, you know, longer videos like I did with my last two, but, you know, I kind of just threw this list up last night, and by last night I mean like 3 a.m. You know, you can just throw in the meme already. Oh boy, 3 a.m. You know, but yeah, this list is gonna be an interesting one simply because I just threw some stuff in all together. I'll be really surprised if I'll really be surprised if you know, we get, you know, a couple mons off this board, but, you know, we'll see for sure. Again, it's been your boy Eli the Rebel. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see y'all next week. Deuces.